Thank you so much for being here today, both in person and online. We've got a bunch of great improvements to share with you on the developer experience on Windows. So my name is Kayla Cinnamon. I am a product manager here at Microsoft. I am formerly the PM on Windows Terminal, and am now PM for DevHome. And I am joined by my colleague, Sharla.
So hi everyone, my name is Sharla Soennichsen. I am also a product manager on the team that has brought you Windows Terminal, Windows Subsystem for Linux, PowerToys, and Widgets, and we are so excited to share with you today all of the latest updates to the developer experience on Windows. We have a ton of content, so I'm going to pass it back to Kayla to get us started.
Cool. Thanks, Sharla. So to set the scene of why we came up with the features that we did for today, we want to just share that we've had hundreds of customer interviews, we've tweeted and asked for lots of feedback, and we also had lots of interviews with Microsoft MVPs. And we're not only asking, but we're also listening. So we try to keep tabs of what people are posting about online, and we also like to use Feedback Hub and try to address the main issues that are there as well. So not only are we listening and doing that sort of thing, but we wanted to take a look at the developer lifecycle to see where we can make improvements in terms of when developers are doing certain tasks on Windows. So to kind of lay the framework of the developer lifecycle, the first step is onboarding. So onboarding is you go to the store, you purchase your machine, you're so excited to unwrap it, you get home, and then you install all of your software, you do your Windows updates, and then you also clone all of your code to your desktop. From there, you move into your inner loop. So this is where you're coding, compiling, committing, debugging, rinsing, and repeating. And this is where devs spend most of their time. And this is also where performance makes the biggest impact. So we've made a lot of great improvements here for the inner loop as well. Once you're done in that inner loop, you go into the outer loop. So this is where your team is. This is where your CI/CD pipelines are. And this is where your code is ready to be pushed out, and then it gets reviewed and then sent out afterwards. So we have a lot of great features that we've tried to address on each of these three phases of the lifecycle with DevHome. Cool. So a lot of you may be wondering, what exactly does DevHome include? So DevHome itself is a centralized location for your development needs. Its intent is to give you information at your fingertips. So it does address each phase of that lifecycle that I showed earlier. For onboarding, it has an integrated machine setup flow, so you can use that tool to get started developing as quickly as possible. And Sharla is going to show us what that setup flow looks like today. After that onboarding piece, you go into the inner loop. So DevHome integrates with dev drives, so you're able to easily create dev drives from DevHome and get that performance boost that dev drives give you. And then for that outer loop, where your team is and where your accounts are, DevHome comes with a DevHome GitHub extension installed by default, so you can connect your GitHub account and then get started managing your GitHub projects from there. DevHome is fully open source and fully extensible also. So if you have experiences that you'd like to see built into DevHome, you can create extensions, and we also want to make more extensions to just fill out the DevHome experience. So DevHome is available today on the Microsoft Store. If you install from the store, you'll get that GitHub extension automatically. You can also get it from the GitHub releases page, and then you'll install the DevHome GitHub extension separately from its own repository as well. So let's jump into a demo to see what DevHome looks like today. So when you first launch DevHome, you're greeted with the Introducing DevHome page, which highlights the main features that come with DevHome. So the first thing that we'll want to do is actually connect to GitHub to get that GitHub integration lit up inside my DevHome dashboard along with the machine configuration piece. So I'll just click Connect to GitHub and select Add Account. From here, I can click Sign into GitHub, and then the browser, which I'm already signed into, will open for me, and I can authenticate really quickly, come back to DevHome, and now I'm logged in. Now that I'm logged in, I can add some widgets to my dashboard. So DevHome comes with a fully customizable dashboard with widgets made using the Windows widget platform. So if you're on Windows 11, you'll have seen those Windows widgets on the left panel of the screen. We've also added a new widget host here in DevHome, and then those widgets will work here as well. So if I wanted to add a GitHub widget, I can select Add Widget. And from here, I can select things like Review Requested, where I have any pull requests that have my review requested on it. I should be able to see those here. I can also customize queries using issues and pull requests. Other great ones that we've added are the Mentioned Me, so any issue or PR that you've been tagged on, it'll have your most recent updated one at the top of the list. Assigned to Me will do the same, whether it's an issue or pull request. For core widgets that we're shipping inside the DevHome application that don't come with that GitHub extension, we have some system performance widgets for you that kind of relate to Task Manager. So you have GPU, memory, network, and CPU graphs that you can keep track of, and the CPU one lets you end tasks from there as well. And we also have an SSH keychain widget where if you have a config file and the SSH folder with different keys set up, those keys will be listed in this widget. You can click on one of them and it will open a terminal directly to that SSH connection, and you can get started from there. So I actually want to customize a GitHub issue widget, and I can do so by heading over to GitHub itself. So here, this is the DevHome GitHub repo. I'll head over to Issues, and let's say I wanted to just look at issues that I've created. I can select the author parameter here, select myself, and I can copy this query out of the browser and paste it directly into that text box here. When I pin this widget, it'll only show me the filters that I've applied, which is just things that I've authored. So you can make really tailored, customized dashboards with this querying system to monitor whatever is most important to you. So to kind of show off just really quick how that extension's installed, this is the DevHome GitHub extension that we are delivering through the Microsoft Store. This is also fully open source. It has its own repository as well. And we're also looking into making an Azure DevOps extension in the same fashion, available in the store, open source, and we'll give you all of that same great integration that we're giving for GitHub for ADO. So I think from here, I'll actually hand it over to Sharla, who's going to walk through more features that we've made to Windows.
Great. So jumping back into the slides. So like Kayla mentioned, we're looking to improve the developer experience, but also the developer performance. And with that, we'd like to introduce you Dev Drives. So Dev Drives are a new trusted drive built on an REFS, or resilient file system, which are more performant for developer scenarios. In our testing against Windows 11 in-market version, we've seen up to 30% improvement in developer scenarios like file I/O operations. We also know that security is incredibly important, but sometimes it feels like it can get in the way a little bit of your workflow. And with that, we'd like to also introduce a new asynchronous, non-blocking performance mode for Microsoft Defender antivirus. It's going to reduce Defender's impact on your workflow while providing important security protection. This will require that the dev drive is trusted, which it will be by default when you create it. And Defender will know to switch to full RTP, or real-time protection, if it ever becomes untrusted, like you're moving it around. You also have the ability to unload any and all filter drivers for faster performance in your dev drives. And you can control that via group policy or the filter manager control. Dev drives will bring you the performance, security, and control that only Windows can offer. So let me show you just how easy it is to create a dev drive. So jumping back to our machine in the settings, you'll notice on the disks and volumes, you will have this new option to create a dev drive. When creating a dev drive, you have a couple of different options for how you can create that dev drive. You can create it as a new VHD, or you could reallocate size on an existing volume. I've gone ahead and already reallocated size on the C drive, so I'm going to grab this unallocated space to create our dev drive today. I'm going to label it something smart like dev drive to know what I'm talking about here. And then I can select any drive letter, but D feels like an appropriate drive letter for dev drive. So we're going to go with that today. And then you can also resize it to anything that you need to accommodate all of your files. You'll notice that the minimum size here is about 50 gigabytes. The reason for that is that REFS is a little bit more metadata intensive, and so it just performs better with a little bit more room. And if you're creating it as a VHD, it will expand dynamically, so it won't take up that space immediately. You have some advanced options here if you'd like to further configure your dev drive. I'm happy with these defaults, so I'm going to go ahead and format that dev drive. And just like that, we have a dev drive created on our machine. You can see as REFS and already BitLocker encrypted as well. So now I'm going to show you how you can integrate dev drives into your setup experience. So jumping back into DevHome and going to that machine configuration page, we are going to start with our end-to-end setup experience here. So the first thing we're going to do is add some repositories that we'd like to clone. Since Kayla already signed in through this DevHome with her GitHub account, we can see all of her GitHub repos that are associated with that GitHub account, both her personal ones and also her private ones. I think today we're going to clone DevHome. So I'm going to grab Kayla's fork of DevHome. And as you can see here, the path has automatically been filled in with that dev drive. So it's super easy and already integrated to get started with dev drives when you're setting up your next project. And if you hadn't created a dev drive in your settings, you will have the option to create a dev drive as a VHD within the setup process here. So you don't need to leave the context of setting up your machine in order to get access to those dev drives. So the next thing that we're going to do is install any applications that we might need in order to get started on contributing to DevHome. I think today we're just going to go ahead and grab the ever popular application Visual Studio Code and get us started today, just so we can kind of do like a lightweight setup here. So we've got our repo, we've got our applications, and then we can go ahead and get set up. So while this is getting set up, I'm going to jump back into the slides and introduce to you another way that you can get your machine set up, which is using winget configuration. So winget, if you aren't familiar with it, is the Windows Package Manager command line tool. It's now not only going to be a package manager, but also a configuration manager. Winget configuration is a repeatable and reliable mechanism for you to get your machine to a ready-to-code state quickly and efficiently. Winget configuration takes the installation and management of software packages to the next level by using a configuration file to automatically handle the setup and configuration of any of your requirements for a proper development machine on your Windows device. This includes the installation of any required software applications, code languages, frameworks, tools, or settings necessary for a project. Now, our team has a deep dive into winget configuration that's actually after our session at 2:45 today. But I want to give you just a little bit of a teaser of the power of winget configuration. So let's jump back over here and run a configuration file to finish our setup. So as you can see, we've got our DevHome cloned and our applications installed. So the next thing we're going to do is jump over to the configuration file experience and get DevHome set up for contributing to today. So the configuration file is a YAML file. This is chosen because it's readable, and it also aligns with the Widget manifests as well, which are also YAML files. So here you can see that we are going to do a couple of things, which includes checking your minimum OS version, ensuring that you've got developer mode enabled, and installing Visual Studio, and the VS workloads required to get started with contributing to DevHome. So we'll go ahead and get this started, and then as this is running, I'm going to actually pass it back to Kayla to talk about some of the other great features that our team has been working on.
Cool. Thanks, Sharla. So a lot of people have been talking about AI throughout this entire conference, and people have been asking, what are we doing with AI on our team? So this video is showing GitHub Copilot in Windows Terminal and the traditional command line interface. One thing that we're experimenting with is adding an extension for Windows Terminal that gives you a chat window with GitHub Copilot so you can easily interact using natural language and then get the commands that you need to interact with Terminal without having to remember the syntax for those commands. Not only are we experimenting with AI here in Terminal, we are kind of noodling on other places where we can add AI as well. So for those who aren't familiar with this tool, this is WinDebug or WinDBG. WinDebug has very complex syntax for its commands, and it's often difficult to remember which symbols or things that you need to get the commands running. One place that we're noodling or experimenting with AI is by, if you enter natural language here, the AI will recognize the command that you're asking for and then give you the syntax that you need so you can get started right away using WinDBG. So these are just a couple of places that we're playing with AI. We'd love to hear from you if you have any other ideas or places that you'd like to see AI integrated into your workflow. And of course, we have the tried and true Windows Terminal and Windows Subsystem for Linux tools, and they have had some great updates for build as well. So Windows Terminal now supports default terminal in Windows 10 coming at the end of this month. So in Windows 11, we made Windows Terminal the default by adding a setting into the developer settings page and then automatically set it to terminal. In Windows 10, we'll still give you that setting, and then you can go in and set terminal as your default if that's your preference. We also released version 1.18 this week, which includes a couple of great new features. The first is tab tearout. This is something that we've been wanting and working on for quite a long time, but now you're able to tear a tab out of an existing terminal window and then still have that same process running, and you can also merge it back into a terminal window if you want to. Terminal also comes with a portable mode, so you can take an unpackaged version of Terminal, take it from one machine on a flash drive, and move it over to another machine and keep all of your settings and your customizations all on that executable. And lastly, we've added environment variables into the settings.json. So if you have environment variables that you like to use with certain terminal profiles, you can set that in your settings.json file and then keep it all in one place and manage your environment variables from there. And then of course, if you sign up for the GitHub Copilot X waitlist, when we're ready to deliver that extension chat window piece of Terminal, you'll be the first to get it when you're off the waitlist for GitHub Copilot. For WSL, we have a couple of great new features as well. So WSL can now run systemd inside of your WSL distros, and that's included by default. Systemd is a software suite that has basic Linux building blocks for interacting with the Linux system. So this enables scenarios such as using microK8s to run a local Kubernetes cluster, using the Snap package manager, or even using LXD for running containers for WSL. And we've also modified the way that WSL is delivered. So it's now undocked from the OS, and its updates ship through the Microsoft Store. So when you run WSL --update in your terminal, the update will pull from the store rather than requiring a Windows update. So this means WSL on older versions of Windows will be the most up-to-date because the update mechanism is no longer attached to the Windows build. So I think from here we'll jump into DevHome again and see what development looks like now that we've got our machine set up. So here Sharla has completed our winget DSC file, so I have all of my VS Code components. I'm in developer mode, I've got the right OS version, and everything's ready for me to go. So to get started developing, let's say I wanted to make a change to the README of the repo that we just cloned, which was the DevHome repo. So I can head over to my dev drive, and I'm just going to go into DevHome, and I'm going to find that README file. So if I wanted to quickly look at the README, we can use PowerToys Peek. So PowerToys Peek is a new PowerToy that came out in our latest release, and it lets you quickly and easily look at files without having to fully open them into an editor. And what's cool about the README is that it's a markdown file, so Peek recognizes that it's a markdown file and is rendering it for me with the proper styling. And if I wanted to continue editing this file, I can click Open with VS Code, which Sharla installed for me earlier, and then I can go ahead and edit this README file. So one way that I like to use DevHome is I like to use fancy zones and just kind of rearrange my windows in a way where I have my editor here on the left, and then I can also, here's DevHome, check out my dashboard and move this here onto like a column on the right. And I'll just make my editor as large as possible. So here I can manage and monitor my GitHub issues, which are way down here. And then also do all my development on one side of the screen. So this layout is using PowerToys' fancy zones, and then I can just easily keep track of things that I'm assigned to on GitHub or my reviews requested or whatnot. So I'm able to stay in the zone in my development environment without having to navigate to a bunch of different edge tabs or things like that. So we can make a change to this README, and then I have a pull request already open. And I think I noticed something interesting in the cloning. When we cloned, we selected my fork, but since we made the DevHome repo public yesterday morning, my fork isn't exactly where it should be. So it looked like the clone actually pulled from the Microsoft repository, since my fork is a private fork off of a non-existent private repo. But that's okay, because it still exists on GitHub. So let's say we made a change here, and I went and I contributed to a pull request that I already had open, for example. This is my private fork, and you can see that I've made some updates here. And you can notice here that my latest commit has failed, right here. So that is a bot that I have running that checks the spelling or the title of my pull request to fail it if it's not as it should be. And when you get a failed check in a GitHub pull request, DevHome will send a notification for you using that GitHub extension saying, hey, your pull request has a failed check, go address it. So here I have that failed check when I tested yesterday. And when I click on that notification, it opens that pull request for me. So now I can go ahead and rerun those checks if I have to without wasting time thinking that my build has been running this whole time when it's actually failed like 2 hours ago. And this came in handy so much in the past like 2 weeks, because we've been developing and rapidly iterating to get DevHome out, and we run Azure pipelines, and sometimes those pipelines would fail and they take about 15 to 30 minutes, and if we hadn't been notified, we would have wasted 30 minutes thinking that they finished. So this has been really helpful, and it's also a point for extensibility. So this is part of the DevHome GitHub extension, and we currently only support the failure notification, but we'd love to know any other notifications that would be helpful to have as part of Windows notifications. So things that are like buried in your email that you wish you knew you saw, those are the kinds of things that I think would make great Windows notifications. So I think we'll jump back into the slides to talk about a few more things. Yes, so going back onto that PowerToys thread. So we have some updates for PowerToys as well. So I just demonstrated PowerToys Peek. We've also recently released a few new PowerToys for you. There's PowerToys Paste as Plain Text, where you're able to copy formatted links or things, any text that has formatting on it, and you can paste with a certain key binding and strip that formatting out. We also have a registry file previewer, so if you are someone who commonly looks at the registry, this is a great tool to use for that. And we also have a host file editor, so if you edit your host files often, you can use a PowerToy for that as well. And we actually have one more toy that was released in this past release that we want to show you. He's not answering. Should we just go in?
Yeah, let's go.
Clint? I think he's over here.
Right mouse, left mouse. Desktop, laptop. I like mouse without borders. Desktop, laptop. Pink mouse, left mouse.
Hey Clint, it's time to go to build.
Right mouse, left mouse.
We should just go.
Yeah, let's leave him. So we've just released Mouse Without Borders 2 PowerToys in our latest release. So we've made it open source. Yes, this is great. Yes, thank you. So Mouse Without Borders has just been made open source. It's part of the PowerToys package. And if you're unfamiliar with what was happening in that video where Clint just really didn't want to come, he was using one mouse and keyboard to mouse between two separate machines altogether. So it's two separate monitors and two completely separate PCs with one keyboard and mouse, which is why we needed a little separate video because we don't have two machines. So I think I will pass it back to Sharla to talk about some more Windows improvements that we've made.
Yep, so we're not done yet. We've got a couple more things to share with you. So one thing that we'd like to share is the new command not found Widget suggestion. So I don't know if you guys have ever been in the place where you're running through your workflow and you go to run a command and PowerShell's like, command not found, and that's annoying. So then you have to go and grab that application and then come back to your PowerShell. But now we've got an option for you where Widget suggests the command that was not found, and then you can install that right here in PowerShell and then continue with your workflow in one place. So this will also be shipping through PowerToys and will act as an extension to PowerShell 7.4. The next thing that we want to share with you is that we are adding additional file compression support to File Explorer by utilizing the open source libarchive library. So shipping in September, you will have the ability to not just open zip files in File Explorer, but also 7-zip, tar, rar, and more. We also plan, yes, I know, exciting. It's gonna be great. And then we also plan to provide support for creating those files in those formats in 2024. So, awesome stuff. And we also just want to highlight really quickly, we've been talking about a lot of updates to the developer experience on Windows, and we just want to continue to highlight that developers are a very valued user on Windows. And so starting with, when you first get a new machine, we're adding representation for developers. We're adding that VS Code icon there. And then we're also adding this development checkbox here. So when you're going to open your machine and it's kind of asking you like, what are you going to use this machine for? We've got this development checkbox. It's going to automatically install DevHome for you, which is going to be awesome. We really want to help you expedite your setup process here. And we'd also love to know, what are some other things that you would like to have enabled or installed by default when you click this checkbox so that we can help you get into that inner loop of your code development as quickly as possible. And then last but not least, we've got a couple of updates to Windows settings that we'd like to show off. So the first one is the ability to hide your clock. So you might have noticed we've had that little Easter egg hidden in here, which is that our clock has been hidden this whole time. So you now have the ability to add to hide the clock and time, whether you're presenting or you just don't want to know what time it is. You have that option for you here. The next one that I want to show off is a taskbar setting. So if we get down here to our taskbar behavior, this is another little Easter egg that you might notice, which is the ability to never combine your taskbar buttons. So by default, you'll see this, but we now give you the option to never combine, so you can see all of the instances that are open, you can read the labels, and it just makes it a little bit easier. We know this has been a feature you guys have been asking for, so we're happy to bring it for you. And last but not least is my personal favorite, which is the end task directly in the taskbar feature. So if you go to the item in the taskbar, yeah, it's exciting. Wait, ready? End task. Awesome. So that is all of the content that we have for you, but this was a lot of information that we're sharing with you. So we want to do a little bit of a wrap up and jumping back into the slides. So bringing it back to that developer lifecycle, we talked about onboarding and some of the improvements that we're making to onboarding. So your onboarding is going to be much smoother with the DevHome setup flow and Winget configuration, helping you to get into your inner loop faster. Your inner loop is going to be a more delightful and performance, and you'll experience performance boosts from dev drives, those compression formats additions, those taskbar improvements, as well as new WSL and PowerToys features. And your outer loop is going to be more efficient with the DevHome Dashboard and GitHub notifications, helping to keep you informed and stay on top of your workflow. So, a lot of content for you today. We do also want to touch on some of the things that we're thinking about moving forward with DevHome because we're just getting started. So the first thing that I want to call out is that we are also looking to do Azure DevOps support as an extension. So like Kayla mentioned, we've got that GitHub extension that allows you to access all of your repos and issues and things like that. And we know that Azure DevOps is also a place that you're going to need access to as well. So we're looking to add that shortly. The other thing that we're looking to add is multiple dashboard support. So oftentimes we know you'll be working on multiple things. You might want to track one thing here. So we're looking to add that multiple dashboard support to support all of your projects. We're also looking to do a deeper integration with repositories. So you saw we cloned, and then we ran a configuration file. We're looking at how we can kind of link all of that together and make it one simple flow so that you can grab a repository, grab that configuration file, and run it and get all set up in one go. And last but not least, we are looking at gaming development integration. So Windows and Team Xbox are making it easier than ever to get started with game development. And we're bringing to the public Microsoft Game Development Kit, or GDK, to Windows DevHome to help you find many of the tools that you need to set up a game development environment in one simple place. And so the Microsoft public GDK is now available on Winget. So finally, we've got some ways for you to get started today. So I know you're all eager to get your hands on all of these new features. So we encourage you to start by installing DevHome. Go to the DevHome GitHub and start taking a look at issues and start contributing. We'd also love for you to go and install the latest versions of PowerToys, Winget, and WSL, Terminal Preview. We've got a lot for you. So plenty of places to go get started. Don't forget to sign up for the GitHub Copilot X waitlist so that you can get access to that terminal and AI integration as soon as that's available. Last but not least, we'd encourage you to go check out Winget configuration. We've got some files already available for you to go check out today. And we'd encourage you to connect with the DSC community or desired state configuration community. And don't forget to check out Demetrius and Ryan's talk at 2:45, which will be all about how to create a configuration file, how it works, and all of those nitty-gritty details that I know you love. And so with that, I think we are going to move on to questions. So thank you.
So if you'd like to ask any questions, make sure to go to the QR code, which has disappeared.
I think there's one over there, but yeah,
and then
ask it on Pubble.
Wait, here we go. We got it.
There we go. Okay.
Or go to the aka.ms link as well, and then we'll see your questions pop up here. So the first question is, can I move items in the dashboard around, or do I need to add them in the right order? That is an excellent question. That's from Bruno. Where is it going? Okay, we're not touching it. So that's a great question from Bruno. So to answer that, at the moment you are not able to rearrange the widgets, but that is the first item on our to-do list to fix. We had to create an entirely new widget host, which took a lot of engineering work, and the existing widget host doesn't allow for rearranging, I think. So that is the first thing we're going to be adding so that the order won't matter when you pin them.
The next question from Adam J is, will DevHome support game development environments like Unity and Unreal? We are currently within DevHome, the app installation experience is powered by Winget. We are looking to expand that to other package managers moving forward. But currently we have the game development kit is what we'll be working on moving forward. But we are looking into adding support for other environments as well.
The next one that we have up here is a question from Philip. So the question is, how about adding the completed successfully notification so you don't have to wonder or would see the notification if you are working on something else? I think that's a great feature to have. Some other notification options that we were thinking of were successes, and also if you had a merge conflict that came out of nowhere, that'd be really awesome to know about. So I think that's a great suggestion, and I think it might be filed already on our GitHub repo, but if it's not, definitely head over there and file that issue.
Bruno V asks, can I click on any clock on any monitor and get my calendar, or still only on the main monitor? That's a great question. I would love that feature as well, but I think it's still only on the main monitor right now.
The next question is from Dan. Is there a migration path for existing setup to new DevHome, or is it an uninstall, reinstall experience? So for right now, it's the uninstall, reinstall experience where you'll have to set everything up again. But one of the features that we'd love to add is an export functionality where you can export your dashboard layouts and any other projects or repos that you may have, and then you can import them to another machine or another setup and then get started right away. Rather than having to do it all by hand. So that's something on our to-do list as well. But right now, it's going to be a fresh install.
Yep. Arian K asks, is the Azure DevOps version soon or someday? Also, is it? And it is soon, we promise. So we are working on that.
Yeah, we are actively meeting with the Azure DevOps teams, and we are aiming for sometime in the fall to deliver that extension. So that's the extension we're actively working on now. So soon, not someday, is to answer that.
Yeah.
And then Dustin has asked, Windows 10 support for Windows Terminal as the default rolled out and is available for update seekers today. That is not a question, but that's true. So you can make Terminal your default on Windows 10, and it's, so it rolled out today. Okay, that's a good point. So Dustin is saying that instead of at the end of May, the update is now. So you can go ahead, get the insider build of Windows, and then make Terminal your default on Windows 10. It's neat, yeah. There's a question, there it is.
There it is. Okay. How is DevHome related to DevBoxes in Azure? So DevBoxes is the virtualization. DevHome is really intended to help you get set up and to help kind of monitor things. We are working with the team to kind of look at how can you use DevHome to set up your DevBoxes. So, all across Microsoft, we are looking to integrate all of our developer experiences to make sure it's cohesive for you. So they will be related.
Brian has asked, for DevHome, can you access GitHub Enterprise? I think at the moment that is no, but that's the thing we're fixing right now. There's a sign in with Enterprise button that I think we're working on. And then having multiple GitHub accounts is also another feature that we're working on, because I have a personal and I have an enterprise. So being able to have both of those at once and then manage them in multiple dashboards would be awesome. So that's on the list as well.
One of the bullets mentioned deeper integrations with repositories. Can you expand on this? Yes. So right now, what we showed off in the DevHome setup experience was you can go to GitHub and clone your repositories, and then you just move on and add your next applications. And then the other part that we showed off was the configuration files to set up said repository that you just cloned. So one of the things that we're kind of thinking about is how can we link those together in one simple workflow. When you clone a repository or indicate that you intend to clone a repository, can we look at that repository and say, hey, there's a configuration file here, would you like to run it to complete your setup experience so that it's all in one workflow, and you don't need to kind of jump back and forth against different ones. And so, yeah, we really just want to kind of expedite your setup experience here.
Mm-hmm. Jay has asked, can you talk briefly about the DSC connection for the DevHome configuration file feature? I was surprised to see YAML since DSC configurations have always been built with PowerShell. So the connection between DevHome and the YAML DSC files is that DevHome's able to grab the YAML file, interpret it, and run it for you all within its window, and then we can have different logging and error messages and whatnot all within a UI rather than in the command line. And then YAML was chosen for its readability, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also Widget uses YAML for their manifest files as well. And just pitching again, the Widget configuration talk at 2:45. Demetrius is going to go all into the kind of logic behind, like, why did we choose DSC, why did we choose YAML, how it works, what it looks like to create a YAML configuration file, and all of those details. So we encourage you to go check that out as well.
Cool. Jeff has asked how many of these features are going to work on Windows 10. So DevHome eventually will work on Windows 10. The thing that we're fixing right now is that widget dashboard to get you that widget host support built into Windows 10 as well. We are planning to bring it to Windows 10 to make sure that DevHome is available for everyone.
Can you approve/merge PRs directly from DevHome? We don't currently have that capability, but that's a great feature request. Feel free to go add that on the GitHub.
Yeah, and we talked about this on the team too, mm-hmm. and I thought no, because in my opinion, you would want to look at the pull request, see the changes that were made in the code, and then feel comfortable approving it and merging it. But if it's something that you want built in and maybe there's more integration there, maybe you can see code diffs or something, please let us know on GitHub because we'd love to add that integration if that's what you're looking for. Yeah. All right, noted.
Okay, and then the next question is, dev drives don't show up for me, Windows 11 Canary, no updates available. Yes, I think there is a new Windows Insider build that is coming with dev drives today? Soon. It's coming soon. Soon.
Cool, and I think that's all of our questions. So thank you all for coming, and if you have any more questions after this, feel free to just come up to us after the chat and we'll be happy to chat with you.
Yeah, we've got some stickers. Oh, booth.
Yeah.